there's always more to the story. Join your hosts, Dr. Eric Shaw, prosecutor Ryan Frank, writer Adrian Bonenberger, and comedian Ryan Connor as they follow up on the most recent episode of Baggage. This is Carry On.
All right, everybody, welcome to Carry On, the supplemental episode to Baggage. And this is a great episode, too, because Ryan Connor is not here for this Carry On, but he was for the last guest episode with Patrick, a medico-legal death investigator. And Adrian is here with us this time. And you did not get to hear what Patrick had to say, which is fun because here's what we have. Here's the topics that we touched on in the 1 hour episode with Patrick that needs a little bit of follow-up. So I'll let you pick, Adrian, where we're going to start. We have decapitation. We have sexual relations with a horse. We have kamikaze stolen airplane. We have Killdozer. And we have serial killer. Patrick had something to say about all of those. He's touched all of those things. It was a pretty wild episode, and we have follow-ups to all of that. Which of those categories would you like to start with, Adrian?
I got to go with Killdozer.
Oh, okay. I got to do this one. This is my state.
Oh, I printed out the Wikipedia and everything.
I read over it just to review it today, just because I remember it's such a cool story and it's so stupidly Colorado. It was a gentleman in Granby, Colorado, who had kind of some run-ins with the local, not authorities, but like the local political system, and basically an argument over a piece of property in another family in the town. And he felt slighted at every single turn, despite like trying to screw this other family over and over and over again. But he had a book of grudges that ran deep. And at some point he lost the whole battle, and he was pissed about his lawyer fees. He was pissed at everybody. And that includes, the local newspaper, the mayor, even the Catholic church that was in town. He had a previous grudge against that. He hated everybody in town. And so he kind of quietly took his property and turned it into a tank factory and turned a bulldozer into a reinforced tank, not just with steel, but with concrete, steel, and then bulletproof plexiglass he put over cameras on the outside of this thing. So that there was no outside way. I guess he put gun turrets in it that he could kind of like put gun ports out, but otherwise there was really no way into it. And then one day he decided he was going to destroy the town, and he drove this tank, bulldozer, through the town. He destroyed the town hall. He destroyed multiple stores. The police, the first cops that got there, didn't know what to make of it and started basically shooting at him, and it was completely ineffective. They got up on top of it and they couldn't find any way to damage it. They threw like flash bangs down its like pipes and stuff. Nothing seemed to really stop it. They drove other trucks in front of it to try to gum it up, and that didn't stop it. And ultimately it drove through a store, and they were able to get a big like semi truck kind of behind it and block it. And at that point, the guy realized he was trapped. Oh, he had a week's worth of food in there and a lot of guns. He was ready to roll. But when he got trapped, he ultimately shot himself. Colorado is so libertarian. And I joke and say there's not a right or left per se. It's just degrees of libertarian. He really took that to the next level of just like, he was so tired of government interference in his affairs. And this is how he chose to take it out. So that is the Killdozer.
Yeah. So a couple details. So it was June of 2004. And listen to this sentence. The attack lasted 2 hours and 7 minutes, damaging 13 buildings, 11 of which were occupied until moments before their destruction. His targets included the town hall, the Sky High newspaper office, Gamble's General Store, Maple Street Builders, Mountain Parks Electric Company, Liberty Savings Bank, Copycat Graphics, the wall of his former business, the home of the former mayor, and a hardware store owned by another man that he had sued, as well as a few others. And it was about $7 million in damage. And he was the only fatality. But that is just like, man. And he built this thing. What was it? It took him 18 months. Man, that just like the level of hate to take 18 months and the hours of just like every hammer strike, like this is going to pay off. I'm going to get my revenge. Is just, man, that level of it's more than hatred. What's the word I'm looking for? Just disdain, It's crazy.
I think hatred's the right word for it, because it's all consuming. And but it really is, it's one of those things where you do end up weirdly respecting like the commitment to it. Like to make a guy that mad, you're like, look, I'm sorry, like if you've gotten a person that mad, you must have done something wrong. I don't care who you are, like unless there was mental illness at play. But if there was mental illness, how do you custom build a tank while being like severely mentally ill? No,
he's just
I
salty.
think this is a person who was so vilified and trod down upon and spurned by an entire community. People were laughing at him when he walked down the street, muttering to himself about his revenge. They laughed at him, they spurned him, and one day he showed up and he showed them all with his Killdozer. And it didn't kill anyone.
He recorded several hours of basically like his vendetta before doing this and mailed it to his brother. And one of the things he kept falling back on was he said, sometimes reasonable men have to do unreasonable things. Like he felt completely justified in what he did. There was no remorse in this guy's mind.
You have to take that into consideration. I think you really do. I know you're a lawyer, Ryan, so you don't see it this way, but laws are made from people. When you can push a reasonable man so far, and then when you push a reasonable man off the ledge, he builds a Killdozer and destroys the town without killing anybody except himself.
Okay. And all right. Just you're nodding your head a little bit more than I'm comfortable with, is all I'm saying.
I'm on my town's council. I'm an RTM member, and I can say, here's the thing about
you are the man. You are the man. You're
I
Big
am
Brother.
the man in this situation. I'm Big Brother. I have seen people consumed with anger and hatred toward the town that is not justified. And these are people who are like, they think they're justified, but they're just kind of like off on something. And usually it's not specifically the town. Usually it's about one legal case, or they're pissed off at, like, in one case I can think of, like the school superintendent, and the beef that this individual has with the school superintendent ends up bleeding into a lot of other things too. But like a person in none of these cases, I've never encountered a person like the person who made the Killdozer. I think it's very rare. I think it's very unusual that you have a situation like this, but every once in a while, yeah, I mean, it's like you look at it, and if the town, basically the town made the Killdozer guy. That's what it looks like to me. Was he, unless there's evidence of mental illness, in which case the dude probably should have been taken off the street and institutionalized and hospitalized and helped. But otherwise, yeah, I don't know.
So were you familiar with the Killdozer before this episode?
I was. I mean, I've seen the video. It's impressive.
Oh wait, it reminds me so much of the character Milton from Office Space, where he's just like been pushed too hard. He's like, I want my stapler. Where's my stapler?
So that's the Killdozer. All right, moving on. The other one of the other topics was, Adrian, were you familiar with, in 2018, this guy in the Seattle area stole an aircraft and just started joyriding it, and he was on the line with air traffic control. Do you know the story? Okay, so where Patrick came into this is because he's in the Northwest, and he, as a medico-legal death investigator, was called out to the island to basically look for remains where the guy had crashed the plane into an island. And it's a sad ending. He basically killed himself. It's a suicide. But before that, it's really, just seems like a kind of a chill dude. And the eerie part about it is there's a lot of footage of him flying this thing around, and he's on the line with air traffic control for an hour and 15 minutes. So this is August of 2018. He stole this guy was 28, Richard Russell. He stole this aircraft. He was ground crew at the time, had never flown an aircraft, had no piloting experience, and just had some kind of mental snap. So actually have a little bit here. I'm going to play a little bit of the air traffic controller conversation that he was having.
Okay, Rich, if you could you start a left-hand turn, and we'll take you down to the southeast, please.
This is probably like jail time for life, huh? I would hope it is for a guy like me.
Well, Rich, we're not going to worry or think about that, but could you start a left-hand turn, please? 400 apparently is a grounds crewman with Horizon, I guess. And
Okay, very good, thank you.
right now he's just flying around, and he just needs some help controlling his aircraft. Very good.
Nah, I mean, I don't need that much help. I played some video games before. I would like to figure out how to get this cabin altitude. Like, I know where the box is. I would like to get some, make it pressurized or something so I'm not so lightheaded. Damn it, Andrew! People's lives are at stake here.
Now, Rich, don't say stuff like that.
Nah, I told you, I don't want to hear no one. I just want you to whisper sweet nothings into my ear.
Not concentrate so much on flying the airplane.
Hey, you think if I land this successfully, Alaska will give me a job as a pilot?
I think they would give you a job doing anything if you could pull this off.
Yeah, right. Hey, I want the coordinates of that orca with the mama orca with the baby. I want to go see that guy. I got a lot of people that care about me, and it's going to disappoint them to hear that I did this. I would like to apologize to each and every one of them. Just a broken guy. Got a few screws loose, I guess. Never really knew it until now. Hey, pilot guy, can this thing do a backflip, you think? I'm gonna land it. In a safe kind of manner. I think I'm gonna try to do a barrel roll, and if that goes good, I'll just go nose down and call it a night.
And that is exactly what he did. He ended up doing a barrel roll in this thing, and then in an island in Puget Sound, put it right into the ground. Which it's so that it's so eerie, that whole conversation. He's just talking to the guy. He's cracking jokes. He seems like a dude you want to hang out with, and he's just like, I don't know what's going on, man. Like, I just got some screw loose, and it's over. Just coincidentally, Patrick happened to be the death investigator nearby and was called out, and you missed the episode, but they basically didn't, very, very little was ever recovered from that.
That's so eerie, particularly that kind of like near death. And I've had this with patients where you've been talking to them moments before something catastrophic happens, and just that, again, being the proximity to death is so, I don't know, jarring. And to hear that video or hear that audio is really upsetting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I don't necessarily agree that it would have been cool to hang out with him. There's something in his voice too. Maybe I'm just projecting because I know what the context of it is, but it seemed really like, kind of chaotic and unsettled, and really horrifying, actually.
Yeah, I guess I meant in the tone. The tone, he's talking. He's talking to him like he's sitting next to him in a bar, and it's like this is a wild situation. Someone that's never controlled an aircraft before just took off, and he has no plans to land, and he's just like, "Yeah, I don't want to hurt anybody. Tell me, gonna find a place where it doesn't hurt anybody else." And it's just like, man, what? And think about the trauma to the air traffic controller, right? I mean, like, you got to live with that now. Like, what would I have said differently? Obviously nothing. I mean, the guy had made a decision what he was going to do, but no, thank you, man. So that was a pretty crazy one. Patrick also mentioned that he worked with a medical examiner that had to do the autopsy on a man that had relations with a horse.
To death.
What's that?
Relations with a horse to death.
To death. So
just need to clarify.
I will
that.
read. And Patrick was like, "Yeah, they made a movie."
Are there any other
right?
relations between a man and a horse that don't end in a really awful kind of death?
I mean, I don't know. I'm sorry. I started this. I know I started this. I don't know how much I want to go down this road. But Patrick did say, he was like, yeah, I think they made a movie about it. And they did. It's called Zoo. It's a 2007 American documentary about this guy.
Oh, no kidding.
And his name is Kenneth Pinion, I think it is. And I'll just read him. He died from peritonitis. Eric, help us out. Peritonitis due to perforation of the colon after engaging in receptive anal sex with a horse.
In my mind, that's actually very discreet. That tells me exactly what happened.
Right. I mean, it's very medical. This is the best line, though. The film combines audio testimony from people involved in the case who were familiar with Pinion, quote, with speculative reenactments that feature a mix of actors and actual subjects, end quote. What? That's the best advertising for a documentary. Speculative reenactments. I think I got to check it out now. That's crazy.
I mean, you know how he died. Once you hear the thing, it's obvious how he died. And I mean, I'm not going to watch the documentary. I don't want to hear anything else about it.
No.
I have all the information I need. I'm disappointed. That makes me disappointed in humanity.
In humanity, yeah.
Yeah.
What else is there to say?
I want to scrub that from my brain.
Yeah. Well, anyway, check out the episode because Ryan Connor teed that up unknowingly.
Hey there, I'm Danny Brown, host of 5 Random Questions. If you love spontaneous conversations, unexpected laughs, and a bit of heartfelt wisdom, then this is the show for you. Each week, I sit down with my special guest and ask them 5 completely random questions, generated on the spot by my random question generator. The guest has no idea what the questions will be, and neither do I, so you never know where the conversation will take us. Expect a mix of humour, unexpected wisdom, and a whole lot of fun as we dive into answers that can range from the utterly hilarious to the surprisingly profound. But that's not all. At the end of each episode, my guests get to turn the tables and ask me a random question to give me a taste of my own medicine. So if you're looking for a good laugh, some unexpected wisdom, or just an entertaining chat, join me every Thursday on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, your favourite podcast app, or online at 5randomquestions.com. And don't forget to subscribe and leave a review. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I'm looking forward to welcoming you to 5 Random Questions, where every question is an adventure. See you there.
Now, in a softer kind of funny version of this, one of my staff, her daughter is very much into, I don't know what they call it. It's the plastic ponies. There's a whole subculture or like a world. There's these shows where the people get these like fake plastic ponies and they show them, and they're all the same, but the judges go around and pick like the absolute best one of those. And I think she mentioned like calling it pony play or something like this. And in my mind, I'd heard that term on the internet before, and I was like, what your daughter is doing is not pony play. I'm gonna show you what pony play is. And I sent her all these pictures. And if you don't know what pony play is, you should look it up. It is consenting.
Or don't.
Or don't. It is consenting adults. It is a amalgam, like something in between S&M stuff and not bestiality, but just like cosplay, where there is a rider and there's a pony, and the rider is, you know, whipping, and but it's bizarrely not sexual. I mean, maybe it is, but maybe it isn't. But like, there's people like being pulled by their ponies around lots and stuff like that. And I showed this to my coworker, and she was like, "That is definitively not what we were doing at these things."
One thing I learned in college, me and our mutual friend Glenn worked with a guy that was into some really weird stuff. And he had a really attractive girl, 2 pretty attractive wives. He got divorced and married another. And no matter what you're into, there is a group of people that are into that. And if you find that subculture, there is just something for everybody. Hey, man, as long as it's consensual, it doesn't hurt anybody, whatever, have at it. Although there is one that kind of stuck out to me. I was watching this comedy show the other day, and it was a call-in guy talking about how he writes fan fiction about sexualized man and mythical creatures, like man unicorn stuff. And they were like, "You mean bestiality?" And the guy gets into, well, technically bestiality is with actual animals, and if it's fictional characters, it's like cut off the call. Like that's kind of like a distinction without a difference there. If you're fantasizing about doing things with the unicorn, you need help. You need to talk to somebody, you know.
All my staff is into like these fantasy novels that they call like fairy porn, and I don't even know the names of them, but it's just all these. And these are very popular novels right now, and they're all into this stuff. It just reminds me of that.
Adrian's like, I got stuff to do. I can't believe.
I'm not judging. I don't want to judge, like I don't want to kink shame or anything like that. Sincerely, I really don't. It just, the reason I'm shaking my head is because like a lot of the stuff, it's imaginary. And I do feel in some sense that like so much of so many of the problems we have in society today are people making things up in their heads and getting so horny for it, like politically, socially, apparently also sexually, that they will like, they'll adjust their lifestyle to it, Like, I mean, that's like that's like MAGA to me personally. That's like you've made up
Interesting.
you've made up libs in your head, and you get like, it's like you're not making me cry when you make the stock market go down or up. I don't care. Like, you're not making me cry by deporting somebody from your state to El Salvador. I think it's awful and wicked, but like, you know what I mean? Like but in your head, you're like, oh, the libs are going to hate this. Oh boy, the libs are really going to hate this one. And it's like, you're having a relationship with a dragon, or like, oh, what if the Lord of the Elves was to seduce me? It's like, okay, man. I mean, it's all imaginary. It doesn't exist. It's not real.
On a happier note than that, I've had this discussion with several coworkers, and I've read several articles about this. The kink community has some of the healthiest, happiest sex and relationships, because there's no preconceived it's all out on the table. There's no expectation or like unrealistic expectations about what's going to happen, and both partners are going to get exactly what they want, exactly the way they want it. And there's not going to be someone that's like taking advantage or like non-consensual. It is extremely consensual, but in the most interesting ways.
Why'd that guy get divorced?
Oh God.
I'm just saying, it's like, I think it's the same problems. I think everybody's got the same problems. I think you got the bell curve, and you got the Lord of the Elves seduction guy, and you got the Lord of the Dragon seduction guy. And if you put all of them up on the chart, you'll find the same rates of divorce across society, because it's the process of the thing. It's not the nature of the thing. But again, I truly do not. I don't know. Maybe we should delete the part about me where it sounds like I come off like I'm kink shaming or something.
No. I don't think any of us are kink shaming. I think what we're reacting to is, I did not know that. It is shocking because I did not know it. It's not a judgment thing, right? Like, I had never heard of some of the stuff that Eric's talking about, and I'm shaking my head like, that's crazy. I had never conceived that as a subset of an interest of people. Again, if you're into it, get into it. Again, go do it. I don't care. I'm not making fun of them or anything like that.
Don't kill yourself by having sex with a horse. Don't do that. And don't crash yourself into a plane, into an island with a plane, or destroy a town in a peak of vengeance.
Yeah, that is the horse thing. That is animal abuse. That is a crime. You are harming another.
It's not a
creature.
Consenting adult.
It's not a consenting human being. No, correct.
Now, to tie that all together, like you're talking about the kink stuff being generally positive, there is also kind of a saying, though, like for every sadist, there's a masochist. You can talk about like, why did this guy get divorced? These people are going to find each other, and it's not always going to be like a healthy relationship either. So
segue into what is not consensual. I don't know. Serial killing. I don't know. I don't have a segue. But anyway, Patrick also mentioned that he actually had a unique experience in his early days, maybe even interning at an ME's office, where his first homicide was one of the Gilgo Beach homicide victims, serial killer homicide victim, and ended up seeing the torso of one of the victims. Very timely, because that guy's on trial right now for those murders.
Wow.
His name Rex Howerman. So in July of 2023, well, backing up, the Gilgo Beach serial killings, part of a series of murders in Long Island, New York, between 1993 and 2011. The victims' remains were found over a period of months in late 2010 and 2011 during a search of a specific area of Ocean Parkway near the town of Gilgo in southern Suffolk County, New York. And so they found all these body parts, basically. And it was just within a week of this recording, they actually have just identified a mother and her toddler as a potential new victim. They were found in that same area. But he's currently on trial he was charged in 2023 and currently on trial with 3 counts of first-degree murder, some second-degree murder charges with 3 named victims. I'm going to say so far. I mean, I think that's the ones that they can actually tie him to. And he's suspected in others as well. And Gone Girls on Netflix, it's about the Gilgo Beach killings. So that's crazy. So, man, I tell you what, Patrick has seen a lot of different things.
That reminds me, there's you're talking about documentaries for the horse guy. There's also a documentary on Netflix about the Killdozer too. I think it's called Tread. So anyone.
Oof. Yeah, that's a pretty good title, actually.
God, the serial killer stuff is so scary because, that's a long period of time to be active. And you think about, like, when you read about all these guys like Ted Bundy and all of them, they were in their communities for years, decades. And some people might have found them creepy, but most people thought they were either normal or whatnot. And I think we look past quirks with people because you don't think that could be the result. But then 1 in a million guys that's doing this stuff, and it's just so terribly scary.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we've all known people that are as creepy as some of these serial killers, but they weren't serial killers, the people we ran into. You just don't know. And it's the breaks of time too, right? Like maybe there's an answer to this, but the Golden State Killer, I mean, so many years just went dormant, just stopped. That's just as fascinating as the murders themselves, in my opinion.
Speaking of TV shows and stuff, did you ever watch Mindhunter?
Oh yeah.
That was a fantastic show. And it's so sad that it was only the 2 seasons and they stopped, but like that was a dark show, but still very watchable. Just really, really deep dive into that world.
Yeah. Quantico, man, right down the street.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. Pioneered the was a behavioral analysis unit, pioneered a lot of that psychology stuff. Anyway, this is not a true crime podcast, and we were definitely out of our element. But the last thing I was going to mention, and I re-listened to the episode, and I'm kind of kicking myself because I found myself interrupting Patrick, and I'm pretty confident what he was about to talk about was, I'm not going to speak for him, but potentially one of the most disturbing suicides he came across, where I don't know how else to say it. The individual had decapitated themselves with a chainsaw.
Jesus.
And I mean, if that's the only scene you ever show up for in your entire career, like, we both see some stuff in our careers, you less so now in pediatrics, but like in your ER days and stuff, that there was some stuff like, okay, I can deal with it, moving on. I don't know, man. If I was, on scene with something that graphic, I just don't know how you come out on the other side. Some people are just built differently.
That is brutal. To kind of follow up that with a slightly funnier story of just kind of like being overwhelmed, but it's funny, but still brutal. But just like our show. The first time I ever went real hunting and I shot a deer, it was down in South Carolina, and my buddy and his dad, we went out to this guy's, like, basically his side business on the weekend. So this is like peak hunting season. And so like lots of people are doing this kind of thing. And it's a butcher in his shed, and there's half a dozen cars lined up outside. And I walk in and there's just deer hanging everywhere and all these hunters all around. And there's 2 guys just like taking apart deer like it's no big deal. And despite me being a doctor at this point, I'm a little overwhelmed by the whole thing. And it's just a lot of gore and a lot of kind of casualness with the gore that kind of got me. And my friend and his dad like run off to go get like celebratory beers for us. And I'm stuck there with half a dozen redneck hunters, and they know they know that I'm a doctor. They know that I'm not around, and they're just chatting me up. And the one guy's like, hey, he's got a nice buck. And the he's like, hey, doc, come over here, put your foot on its head. And he's got a big saw in his hand. I'm like, I don't really want to put my foot on its head. He's like, oh, just come in, just help me out. And he just starts sawing through this thing's head to get the rack off. And I am just losing it internally and trying not to lose it externally. And when he's done, I'm like, excuse me, can I have a cigarette? And you know me, I don't smoke. And the guy gives me, it's really just an excuse to go outside. And the guy gives me when I go outside, and within like, I'm smoking the cigarette. And a few minutes later, my friend and his dad show back up, and they said I was just ghost white, and I'm shaking, and they're like, are you okay? And I'm like, I'm not okay. And they're like, you don't smoke. And I'm like, I know I don't smoke. Like, I am not okay right now. I don't want to go back into that building.
Well, I mean, I hear that, and I'm like, you're not a sociopath. Like, you have empathy for, like, that has to be like empathy for living things. Have you ever considered going vegan? No. I mean, I can see. I mean, that's kind of like a horrific story for people that like don't believe in eating animals and stuff like that. That's
like I've never been to a slaughterhouse. I don't really want to. Like, I don't want to necessarily see that. I'm
kind of the same way. Like, I don't need to see it. I understand the philosophy of it's another living creature. We should advance beyond that. But
and when I do hunting and stuff like that, for me, it's the whole process. I don't necessarily love processing an animal, but like if you shot it, it's your responsibility to eat it and do the things that's right by it, because you did that. Like if you were to leave it out there, like that's not okay. But I don't necessarily love processing an animal.
Yeah, trophy hunters are not. It's just hard to defend trophy hunting ethically.
No, I'm out there for meat. If I happen to get a trophy, that's a bonus. But like, I am out there just to like be in the woods, enjoy the moment, and if I get something great, and then if I can fill my freezer, that's even better.
Well, you're saying trophy, like you might keep antlers in the head and stuff like that. But I'm talking about like people that kill, then just discard the carcass. Just
no. And I'm not going after like predators or an elephant or something like that. But if I get a deer rack, it's pretty cool. But I'm not necessarily going for that.
Yeah, so Patrick had a lot to pack into that hour. So if anybody missed it, definitely check it out. It is one of our more interesting episodes for sure. Ryan couldn't be with us this week. Check out his tour dates on ryanconnorcomedy.com, and see you guys next time. Music for Baggage provided by Quincy Ledbetter. You can find his stuff at qledbetter.com. Graphics provided by Megan Weaver. You can find her at meganweaverart.com. Special thanks to our premium members for their support. You can become a premium member by clicking subscribe in your Apple Podcast app or by visiting thebaggagepodcast.com/support to sign up or to gift a membership to someone. A percentage of all proceeds go to charity. If you have any questions, comments, or a good story to share, please email us at thebaggagepodcast@gmail.com.
The Baggage Podcast, which of these four people has encountered a cryptid and which cryptid did they encounter?
Now, Ryan Frank, one of the two Ryans, he's already a fan of our show, Mondo Frico Podcast, so we have to be nice to him. And he's an attorney, so he works in buildings, right?
Right, yeah.
I'm not thinking cryptid. I'm thinking he's seeing some sort of a haunting. And if we do the typical haunting, it's the woman in white that travels to the courthouse, maybe seen occasionally by the night watch person. But I think Frank might have caught a glimpse of her once in a while.
She's like an old file clerk that had been there. Started when the courthouse, before it was built.
Mm-hmm. Did she die in a filing accident?
Filing cabinet fell on her, yeah.
She started loading the top drawer first, and then she pulled it open too far.
Yeah, poor Marge. Where's Marge? And where's my files?
Mondo Frico Podcast.